pod racing.
Today's video features a budget brew that's been 5 years in the making. Ever since Kaladesh came out in 2016, there's been one commander that I've always loved, but sadly never got any respect from the community and has always come up short in my polls. But with the release of Kaldheim, I decided to ignore what's popular and just go for it anyway. That's right, it's finally time for a gameplay video featuring Depala Pilot Exemplar. This Boros deck is all about dwarves and vehicles, tapping the dwarves to crew the vehicles and smash face. Depala is the key to making this engine work, pumping our army and refueling our hand full of more dwarves and vehicles so we never run out of gas. With Kaldheim bringing a ton of sweet new dwarves and vehicles to play with, most notably Magda Brazen Outlaw, to make piles of treasure tokens and tutor up vehicles, now is the perfect time to build a Depala deck. So I whipped up this sweet $100 list, and now we're going to test pilot it in a game. But before we jump into the game, if you like these videos and want to support the channel, then head on over to our sponsor, Card Kingdom. Card Kingdom has all of your Magic the Gathering needs, so if you're looking to buy anything, including the deck that I'm playing in this video, head on over to their site by using the affiliate link in the video description below. And with that out of the way, let's hop into the game. Our first opponent is Da Epic Panda with a bunch of X's, who I will call Dax, running the partners Taina, the Blood Sower, and Isior Wardwing Familiar. I've never seen this partner pairing before, and Dax explained that this was just a pile of cards in his collection that he threw together, so I have no idea what to expect here. Our next opponent is Khan the Great, who I will call Khan, running Kenrith the Returned King. Kenrith is an open-ended commander, but in my experience they usually lean towards a control deck, so I expect plenty of late-game haymakers. Our final opponent is more Sam 1, who I will call Sam, running Reaper King. This deck is also a pile of sweet cards made by Sam's friend, so again I don't know what's in the 99, though I expect to see at least one card, Rite of Replication, which when kicked targeting Reaper King will result in 25 permanents getting blown up, something I've been on the receiving end of a few times. Of our opponents, the one I fear the most is Reaper King. As long as the commander is on the battlefield, it means that any of our permanents can be blown up. But worst of all is if they manage to cast a kicked Rite of Replication on the king, which blows up 25 permanents and can essentially take us out of the game. Making sure Reaper King doesn't remain on the battlefield is a top priority. Jumping into the game, I keep one of the best hands we can possibly hope for. Lands, Sol Ring, Solemn Simulacrum, and a mobile garrison that we can crew with Depala and start drawing cards with her ability. Nobody matches our turn 1 Sol Ring, but on turn 2, Dax gets out a spicy ramp card with Bloom Tender, which only taps for 1 green at the moment, but can eventually tap for 3 mana. We draw a Knight of the White Orchid, which is kind of awkward since we can't ramp with it, but I won't complain too much. I cast Solemn Simulacrum and ramp out a Mountain, furthering my mana lead over the rest of the table. Sam casts a Cryptolith Rite, which will start generating mana once he gets some creatures down. Khan also ramps with Talisman of Dominance, but Dax rockets ahead in mana when he casts Temur Ascendancy, giving all of his creatures haste and letting Bloom Tender tap for 3 colors, which lets him cast Shaman of Forgotten Ways, which he immediately taps to ramp out Isior Wardwing Familiar. This is definitely an explosive turn 3. On our turn, I cast Depala Pilot Exemplar and Mobile Garrison, setting us up for some sweet card draw next turn. Then we smack Sam for 2 with the Solemn. Sam casts Monastery Mentor, whose tokens will synergize well with Cryptolith Rite. Khan casts Pier's Whim, and for the first time ever, I see someone select the friend mode for everyone, including his opponents, letting everyone ramp out a land. So I snatch Path of Ancestry. Dax immediately puts all his mana to good use by casting Genesis Ultimatum, a terrifying card, but thankfully he only gets 2 lands and a Radiclaw Mystic. He then casts a Mystic and follows up with Garruk Wildspeaker, making a Beast token. At this point, Dax is way ahead on board and is definitely archenemy, but we don't currently have any ways of dealing with him. We draw Untethered Express, which isn't exactly what we want to see. However, since Dax is now ahead of us in lands, we can cast Knight of the White Orchid to ramp out a plains. Then we crew Mobile Garrison with Depala, tapping her and triggering her ability, sinking 6 mana into her ability to draw 3 dwarves. Then I smack Khan for 4 with the Garrison, which was a punt since I could have safely attacked Garruk instead, but I didn't realize that the Garrison is now a 4/5 thanks to Depala's pump ability giving it +1/+1. Sam says he has an answer to Garruk and reveals that answer to be Dragonlord Silumgar, which yoinks it over to his side of the battlefield. Then he creates a beast token with Garruk. Khan casts Thematic Compass, then casts Wishclaw Talisman, tutoring up any card in his deck. Then after some politics and the looming threat of Dax activating Shaman of the Forgotten Ways to kill him, Khan gives the talisman to Dax. Then Dax activates a talisman to tutor up a card, casts Toski, Bearer of Secrets, then casts Saruk, the Hunt Caller, drawing a card off Temur Ascendancy. Dax then makes a conservative attack, only smacking with Toski and Isior to draw 2 cards and passes a turn with a bunch of mana up. That was a great turn for Dax, but now we're ready to have some fun as well. I cast Dwarven Recruiter, putting a whole bunch of dwarves on top of our library. Then I cast Magda Brazen Outlaw, which makes us a treasure whenever we tap a dwarf, which we can easily do by tapping them to crew Mobile Garrison. So we start crewing Mobile Garrison with all 3 of our dwarves, making 3 treasure tokens and getting to draw more dwarves with Depala. Dax has a response however and flashes in Pouncing Shore Shark, mutating it onto Toski and bouncing Magda. I put 5 mana into Depala's ability to draw 5 dwarves, then I smack Khan with Mobile Garrison, untapping our Sol Ring. Post-combat, I decide not to recast Magda since I'm worried about a board wipe, and instead cast Durgor Hedgemage to blow up Temur Ascendancy and Thematic Compass, and then cast Dwarven Blast Miner. Sam casts Path of Discovery, making a token with Monastery Mentor. And then he takes up Garruk to untap 2 lands and casts Reaper King, which immediately scares me. Khan throws a wrench in my aggro plans by casting Pramikon, restricting everyone to attack to their left, and tutors for another card with Wishclaw Talisman. Dax keeps going off with ramp and card draw by casting Tetyova, Benthic Druid, then plays a land and cracks Myriad Landscape to ramp, drawing 3 cards and gaining 3 life off Tetyova. Then Dax mutates Glowstone Recluse onto Toski, bouncing Dragonlord Silumgar, which returns Garruk under his control. He untaps 2 lands with Garruk and swings Toski at us, so I chump with Solemn Simulacrum to draw a card. I cast Magda and 2 7 dwarves, which is a weird sentence. And when I mentioned that I'm about to exile Reaper King with Crypt Swap, Sam lets slip that he has Rite of Replication in hand and is dying to cast it. This opens up a chance to do politics, so I offer Sam a deal. What if, hear me out, but what if you don't target any of my things with Reaper King?
Okay.
And I'll let your Rite of Replication happen.
See, that's progress.
With Sam and I reaching an agreement, I decide not to exile Reaper King so he can have fun next turn destroying our mutual opponents. I then tapped 6 dwarves to crew Mobile Garrison, making 6 treasures with Magda, and then I pay 3 mana to draw 3 more dwarves with Depala. I then swing Mobile Garrison at Sam, untapping a Sol Ring. I then pass, keeping up Crypt Swap and Dwarven Blast Miner. With Sam and I in agreement, I let him copy Reaper King with a kicked Rite of Replication, which makes 5 copies of his commander, and while the copies immediately die due to the legend rule, their triggers still go on the stack, and Sam gleefully eradicates Dax's board. Dax responds by casting Court of Calling, and since Pramikon is being destroyed by Reaper King, Khan Path to Exiles it since he needs a land. Court of Calling fetches Cosima, God of the Voyage, and then all the Reaper King triggers annihilates Dax's board. Not yet satisfied with all the destruction, Sam then also destroys Mobile Garrison with Vandal Blast. Khan casts Queen Marchesa, becoming the Monarch, then casts Selvala, Explorer Returned, and draws a card from the Monarchy at end step. Dax begins rebuilding, casting Oracle of Boldiah, then hits Khan for 6 with Toski, stealing the crown and drawing a card. On end step, he draws a card and I activate Dwarven Blast Miner to blow up Sam's World Tree, then sacrifice 5 treasures to Magda to tutor up my favorite vehicle. With our board untouched and our opponents mostly tapped down, we're ready to go off. I start by casting 3 more 7 dwarves, then tap down 4 dwarves to crew Parhelion, making 4 treasures, and sink 4 mana into Depala to draw 1 dwarf. Then I cast Renegade Wheeler and the 6th of the 7 dwarves, tap them to crew Parhelion to make 2 more treasure tokens and trigger Wheeler so the Reaper King can't block, and then swing everything else at Sam, hoping to kill him, but he actually lives at 2 life. So I probably should have cast Start Your Engines to kill Sam, but I didn't do the math. I definitely won't regret this punt soon after. Sam recasts Silumgar and steals Depala. He then casts Erebos, Bleak-Hearted, and passes. Queen Marchesa triggers on Khan's upkeep, making an assassin token. Then Khan taps Selvala, drawing everyone a card and making mana, then casts Merciless Eviction to exile all creatures. In response, I activate Magda, sacrificing 5 treasures to tutor Peace Walker Colossus into play. Then Khan casts Court of Bounty, taking back the crown. Dax casts Gruul Spellbreaker and hits Khan with it to get back the crown. On our turn, I cast Mizium Tank and Smuggler's Copter, then use the Colossus to animate our Parhelion. Dax responds by killing our sweet vehicle with Frozen Grip. Then we crew the Colossus, and I ask chat if I should finish off Sam or hit Dax for the Monarchy. Draw cards, Monarchy, draw cards. Okay.
Let me just hop into the chat real quick to try and skew it, finish him.
All right. I think Sam, I think you get a turn.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thanks, chat.
Yeah, I think Sam, you're getting a turn. All right.
Chat, we're gonna have a long talk after this.
Thanks, chat. Love you.
we're gonna have a talk after this.
You know what? I'm kind of happy they chose draw cards because I really like drawing cards.
I know you do.
We hit Dax for the crown and draw a card on end step. Sam casts Sire of Stagnation and passes. Khan plays a land, letting Sam draw 2 cards off Sire, then casts Kenrith the Returned King, giving him haste and hitting me to get back the crown. Dax miracles Reforges Soul on his draw step, wheeling everyone's hands, which sucks because our hand was amazing. Then Dax plays a land, returning Cosima to the battlefield to draw cards, and letting Sam draw 2 more cards. Then casts Felwar Stone and a Court of Bounty of his own, taking the crown. Things are looking bad for us now since we're running low on pressure and the Simic decks continue to generate stupid amounts of value. We really need to close out the game soon or else we're going to be left behind. So I start throwing everything we've got at the table. I cast Sun Titan, returning SRAM Senior Edificer from the graveyard. Then I crew Smuggler's Copter with SRAM and cast Sky Sovereign Console Flagship, dealing 3 to Cosima. Then I crew Sky Sovereign with Depala and persuade Khan to give my team haste and trample with Kenrith so I don't send any creatures his way. I send the Sky Sovereign and Copter at Sam to make sure he dies, and then send the Titan and Tank at Dax. Sky Sovereign deals another 3 to Cosima to kill her. I loot with the Copter, and Sun Titan returns Veteran Motorist. Sure enough, Sam had removal with Abrupt Decay, killing the Copter, but the Sky Sovereign finishes him off. Sam finally dies and reveals he had Cleansing Nova in hand, so it was definitely correct to finish him off this turn. I then cast Arcane Signet and Colossal Plow. I'm not playing around board wipes anymore, I'm just trying to kill my opponents before they drown us in value. Khan puts a land into play with Court of Bounty, then casts Generous Patron, putting a counter on SRAM and Spellbreaker to draw 2 cards. Then Khan casts Kneos and Tyro of Meletis and Custody Lich, stealing back the crown and forcing me to sacrifice Veteran Mortarist. End step, K&T triggers and we all draw a card. Dax casts Zendikar Resurgent to make even more mana and draw even more cards. Then he casts Destiny Spinner, Birds of Paradise, and Elvish Mystic, drawing 3 more cards. Basically, now we need to remove Dax before he untaps, or we'll probably lose. And even then, we still have Khan's insane board state and full grip of cards to deal with. Unfortunately, our hand can't do much, so we wheel away all of our cards except for Fleet Wheel Cruiser, hoping for either removal or a way to win. Thankfully, we find better cards. We cast Search for Glory, finding Aurelia the War Leader. I cast Aurelia, crew Sky Sovereign with Depala, crew Colossus with SRAM, and crew the Plow with the Tank. Then I swing everything at Dax, blowing up Destiny Spinner with Sky Sovereign, getting back Copter with Titan, making mana and gaining life with Plow, and untapping all of our creatures and getting an extra combat step with Aurelia. Then we go to second combat. I send a lethal amount of damage at Dax and swing the rest at Khan, cast Kabira Takedown to kill Kenrith, and Sky Sovereign takes out Custody Lich. This kills Dax and leaves Khan at 16 life. Khan casts Dawnglade Regent, Talisman of Conviction, Selesnya Signet, and Propaganda to make attacking extra painful, but we still got this. I cast Faithless Looting to turn on the tank and put Anger into the graveyard. Since we have lethal on board and more than enough mana to pay for Propaganda, Khan scoops it up and we win the game. Alright, so post-game thoughts. I was honestly thrilled to see Depala perform so well. The commander never got the respect I feel she deserves. She's unpopular in the community and nobody ever voted for her in my polls, so I felt vindicated ignoring what the viewers wanted and crushing with her anyway. For just a $100 deck, she felt like a solid, balanced aggro deck that uses Depala's card advantage to keep chugging along, and the new call time cards, especially Magda, gives the deck a huge speed boost. And also, taking out 3 big dumb Simic decks that are just making stupid amounts of mana and drawing stupid amounts of cards just feels really, really good. So I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe convinced you that Depala isn't as bad as you might think. If you did like it, then consider helping out the channel by liking and subscribing. That's all for now, so until next time, friends, see ya!